Okay, so the Albanese government has enough money, it seems, to write off $16 billion of debt that students have racked up studying gender politics, global warming, whiteness studies, a law degree. Meanwhile, though, it's run out of money for our defence. It's just cancelled the $7 billion military-grade satellite communication system that it promised only 18 months ago. This was meant to be 3 to 5 satellites with the highest level of protection against cyber and electronic warfare attacks, and therefore dedicated to our military. And to make things worse, of the 6 submarines we have, just 1 now is fully operational. The rest need repairs or upgrades. Some are delayed by union industrial action, would you believe? Joining me is the country's top foreign affairs writer, Greg Sheridan of The Australian. Greg, good to see you, but I have to say, all this sounds farcical and dangerous. It's of a piece that you've warned of, well, I don't know for how long. What's the story with these cancelled satellites?
Well, Andrew, great to be with you. And indeed, we've had this conversation many times. What an utter shambles. What a colossal mess. What a disgrace. What a betrayal the Albanese government's defence policy is. So we cancelled the low Earth satellites we were going to launch a year or so ago. Mainly, it seems, because they were Morrison government policy. Now we've cancelled the military protected satellites that we were going to integrate all our equipment with. Mind you, we hardly have any equipment to integrate. If they were knocking out this $7 billion in order to get $7 billion of things that go bang quickly, there might be some sense in it. But in modern warfare, you can't do anything without satellites, and satellites are very vulnerable to attack, to cyber attack. You want a lot of satellites, you want redundant capacity, and you want secure satellites. And at the very least, then your enemy has to invest a hell of a lot of time and effort and money into knocking them out of the sky. And instead, we're not doing anything. We now have no space assets at all, yet we have a space command. The Albanese government has not even got our defence spending up to 2% of GNP. Last year it came in under 2%. We can't afford the nuclear submarines. We're not making serious preparations for them. The government recently withdrew its environmental applications to change the base facilities in Western Australia. Nothing is happening at pace. All the baloney it talks about increased defence expenditure, it's all on decades and decades of timelines, so the big sums of money don't come in until the 25th iteration of the Albanese government. But here's another thought, here's a novel thought for you though, Andrew. Where is the opposition in all this? Why aren't they making a noise? I greatly admire Andrew Hastie, but why doesn't the opposition have something to say about this? They're going to have to make their own budget proposal at the election about defence. We cannot do the nuclear submarines and a conventional defence force on the current budget. We just can't do it. So if they are remotely levelling with us, they themselves have to offer a big increase in defence expenditure. But I think both sides of politics have just decided they don't lose any votes. So I've never seen Australian defence in more of a shambles, more of a cock-up. Nothing is happening. This country is a disgrace, and we are now 100% reliant on the Americans for our security. So people better hope, whether it's Harris or Trump, that they're very, very nice to them.
I find it absolutely astonishing, Greg, that this island continent, this vast island continent that is so dependent on seaborne trade just for our petrol even, has just 1 submarine fit for duty. 1. I mean, it's just insane. But you mentioned the American election there. What is at stake here for the rest of the world? I mean, we've just been consumed with talks, talk about Trump being rude, or is he a Hitler, and this, and Kamala Harris being an airhead. I have seen very little talk, serious talk, about what's at stake in this election for the rest of the world.
Well, Andrew, I don't like either of them. I wrote at the weekend, it's not a choice of the lesser of two evils, it's a presentation of the evil of two lessers. And neither of them compares to a Ronald Reagan or a Jack Kennedy or any of the presidents of that we revere. But I think Trump would be better for Australia. I don't like Trump. I share everything you were earlier saying about Trump. I couldn't agree with you more. But he will have more deterrent credibility than Harris will have. Having said that, America will survive under either president. America is a very strong economy, a very strong country, very strong military, and it will survive under either president. Trump isn't Hitler and Harris isn't a communist. She's a very unimpressive left liberal Californian lefty. He is a very weird and foul-mouthed, strong-willed populist who does scare America's enemies. And that's good for Australia. That is a big plus for Australia. We can judge Trump not so much on what he says, which is all over the shop, but what he did last time. He ran a pretty good presidency. I thought he was disgraceful on January 6th, utterly disgraceful, but the record of his presidency was quite good. He spent more on defence than the Democrats would have done. The Abraham Accords were magnificent. He imposed more sanctions on Russia than any other president had ever done. He completely revolutionised the debate and the policy on China, and he was very good for Australia. And the economy was good. So that's no guarantee he'll be as good as that next time, but, you know, and we shouldn't have to put up with all of his disgraceful lies and abuse and foul language and everything in order to get that. But as between the two of them, you know, Trump's tariffs would be destructive if he imposed them all, but almost certainly he'll do some kind of compromise. That's what he always does. As between the two of them, I think Australia and the world would be better off with a Trump presidency than with a Harris presidency. Harris will be Biden, only weaker.
Yeah. Well, when you say better off for the world, I think you mean the free world. I think we've got to start talking in terms like that now. There really is a new world war, Cold War, hot war, whatever you want to call it, and the authoritarian regimes are on the rise. For the free world, he is best. Greg Sheridan, always great to talk to you. Thank you so much.